Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Candidate Night 2 for the town candidates. We have some candidates here from the Derry Public Library trustees, Town Council at Large, Town Council District 3, Town Moderator, and myself for Town Clerk. You need to ask one question. You need to direct it at the office. Okay, stop thinking about that. We're going to start with candidate introductions. And I did a little thing just because I want to make sure the people that were here were all in. And
I get to start. Wonderful. Go ahead, Eric. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Armstrong, and can you hear me? Okay. My name is Rachel Armstrong, and I am running for one of the 3 open positions for the Library Board of Trustees for the Derry Public Library. I currently sit as chair of the trustees, and I'm on the policy and strategic planning committees as well. I have 3 kids, aged 6, 4, 1.5, and you can't see it, but one more due in August. And I'm a firm believer of the power of reading in children. I homeschool my son, actually, so I really, truly do understand this. It opens a whole new world for the children, and I've seen it firsthand with my son. We're at the library quite often, and the kids just adore all the staff there. I'm also the vice regent for the local Daughters of the American Revolution chapter. I'm a parishioner of St. Thomas Aquinas Parish and sing in the choir there, and I recently helped start a mom's group for moms and young children at the parish. Since being on the board at DPL, we have had the honor of receiving the Library of the Year Award from the NHLTA, which is the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association. And I have to say, as I referred to with my kids loving the staff, that they are the ones who made it happen. And they, along with Eric, the director, make our jobs as trustees so much easier. They're the ones who helped us keep the library open all throughout COVID. I think we had one day we were closed. Beyond that, open the entire time. So we truly had the best staff at the library, and we are so blessed to have them there. The library has so much to offer to all ages, and it is such a terrific asset to this community. It has been an honor these past few years to serve, and I just hope I get to continue to serve the community as a trustee moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming to Candidates Night, and thank you, Tina, for moderating. My name is Monica Cataldo, and I've been a trustee at the Derry Public Library for the past 3 years. I've been a Derry resident for more than 40 years and was a teacher in the Derry school system for more than 20. Before that, I was a computer programmer at an insurance company in Boston. I have 3 children, and they all went through the Derry school system. When I ran for trustee 3 years ago, it was because I knew I wanted to give back to a library that my family and I have benefited from for so many years. Trustees have a lot of responsibility. There are national and state guidelines and laws we have to follow in creating and updating policies. While a trustee, I've been on 4 committees: pandemic, finance, policy, and strategic planning. I'm also the board secretary. However, I'm most proud of working closely with the library director and staff to put together the nomination for New Hampshire Library of the Year, which was awarded to our library in 2021. In the past 3 years, we have hired a new innovative director who during a challenging time has made wonderful changes to the library, all approved by the Board of Trustees. If you haven't been there recently, come down and see the patio outside the Children's Library and our new digital sign. Both were gifted to the library from a former Derry resident. We have a puzzle table and unique non-book items to be borrowed, as well as new flooring in the Children's Library, all this in the past 3 years. So being a trustee has been an enriching experience, and I hope you'll vote for me in March so I can continue to support the library and its patrons.
Hello, my name is Meryl Zussman. That's Meryl like the actress, but without any of the Oscars. And I am also a candidate for trustee of the Derry Public Library. I am not a trustee right now, but I worked there for many years. I moved to Derry in 1986 and raised my 3 children here in town with my husband of 45 years. In 1995, I accepted a position at the library as a part-time circulation assistant. I then moved into acquisitions and was in charge of ordering and receiving all the items purchased by the library. I then became a full-time communications coordinator, responsible for all of the technology, the computers, the website, the social media, signage, publicity for special events, and networking with town departments. If you stop by the library during the week, you will see a full parking lot, a busy children's room filled with happy faces and voices, community groups meeting in the public meeting rooms, people using the public computers. Many people in Derry do not have their own computer, and the library is a valuable resource for that. Teens and adults attending lots of targeted programs, people browsing the stacks and checking items out. Check out the calendar on their website, and you will be amazed at all the events that go on there daily. 300 to 500 people go through those doors every day. Why do I want to be a trustee? I remained in my job there as communications coordinator until my retirement in 2020 during the pandemic. Also, I was appointed alternate trustee for last year and served at many of those meetings during that time. I know the library well and appreciate its value to our community. The Derry Public Library has given me so much throughout the years. Now I would love to give back by becoming a trustee and advocating for the ongoing and future excellence of this wonderful community resource. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present myself, and thank you for your vote.
Well, good evening. My name's Richard Tripp. I live at 44 Wyndham Road. I'm not a New Hampshire born and bred person. I was raised in Ohio, and when I graduated high school, there was, what?
Oh, sorry, I was from Ohio too. I didn't know.
It's funny because people, the school kids, they'll ask me, they go, what do you think you're going to do when you graduated high school? And I says, well, I was pretty sure what I was going to do. I was going to get drafted. Well, I fooled them. I joined the Navy. And I was able to put in for 3 duty stations. I think I put in for Jacksonville, Jacksonville, Jacksonville. And I ended up getting assigned to the U.S. Enterprise and going to Vietnam twice. So that didn't work out so well. But anyhow, 1992, I finally decided to quit wandering the world, and my family and I moved to New Hampshire, to Derry. I've got 4 kids. One was born in Montana, one was born in California, one was born in Japan, and one was born in Hawaii. So the only thing they have in common is they are all Pinkerton graduates. So after I managed to get rid of all the kids, people in the town of Derry said, well, we've got all these boards and we need volunteers. So I volunteered for the planning board. That was interesting. I think, can't remember who was, Dave Nelson was the chairman. So I did that for a while and decided that there was other things I could do.
And I hate to say this, Richard, but time.
What?
Time.
My time's up?
Yep.
Anyhow, vote for me.
Good evening. My name is Dave Granessi. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their busy schedule to come here tonight and watch us on TV and the internet and everything. I moved to Derry 18 years ago. My husband, Tony, we've been together 30 years. I got involved with Derry and the planning board about 16 years ago. I've been an active member since then. I'm running for town council again because I want to take the years of experience I have on the planning board and bring it to the town. We have a lot of development coming into town with 4A coming and with the 28 and the whole area of Derry. And my goal is to bring all my expertise on the planning board, listen to people, being the voice of the people, even if it's going against the grain, because I've done that in the planning board, and bring in economic development that'll bring in revenue to the town to lower the taxes. Personal life, I got 39 years with the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department. I hold the rank of Assistant Deputy Superintendent. third in command in a department of over 500 people. I oversee 5 unions. I oversee about 300 non-uniform staff. I control the budget. I control operations and security at the House of Correction. So I'm very versed on dealing with people, dealing with contracts, hiring, firing, discipline, HR issues. I want to bring all that to the town council. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim McGeckran, and I am running for the seat of District 3 Town Councilor. I've been a resident of Derry for 34 years, along with my wife, Patricia. We have a son, James, and daughter-in-law, Ashley, who live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I am running, again, because I was a former town councilor, to use my skills in planning and budgeting and economic development to give back to the community to help implement plans and budgets for the future of Derry and all of its citizens. As I see it now, Derry is at a crossroads with many exciting opportunities. These include several economic development opportunities in the area of Exit 4A and Route 28. There are also, as we know, several school projects being explored by the Derry schools and Pinkerton Academy. All of these projects will need to be coordinated in order to minimize any tax impact on the citizens. During my prior term as a town councilor, we faced very similar situations, and I will use that experience during this exciting time. My background and experience primarily was in the growth management ordinance in Derry, which was the first of its kind legislation in the state of New Hampshire that helped slow the growth of homes while encouraging the growth of businesses and infrastructure, along with taking care of the citizens in town. We were able to do that and implement some TIF districts that were also very beneficial and continue to be the roadmap for all TIF districts right now currently being worked. If I am elected, I will be able to hit the ground running with this background in both growth management and budgeting and planning, and I have the experience to see that these projects get done in a cost-effective way with a plan that will expand the tax base and the business opportunities while helping to lower your taxes. As I have in the past, I will work with all stakeholders to coordinate these efforts and help to move Derry forward.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Cardin. I am running for Town Council at Large. I have lived in Derry for 33 years. I'm a retired high school teacher. I've served on a number of committees and boards in the town. I served on the council for one term, and I served as a state representative for one term. Currently, I'm the secretary of the Net Zero Committee, and I have worked on both energy committees for the last 15 years. The projects that we have worked on save the town $900,000 a year in energy costs. Currently, our Net Zero Committee is working on a 2.2 megawatt solar array at the closed landfill, and we will be producing enough electricity to take care of all the town buildings and municipalities. And the school board is also starting to get on board. I know they're working on a grant for solar power for one of their schools. So we're hopeful that that they come through with that. And you know, I attend most of the town council meetings. I'm familiar with all the issues, and like Jim, I can hit the ground running if elected. One of my concerns is the rail trail where it's going to intersect where 4A is. The DOT sent the town a letter a couple of months ago and said that if the town wanted the tunnel project, they were going to have to pay $1 million for it. Rightfully so, the town council voted not to pay the $1 million and go with the so-called spaghetti plan. My approach would have been a lot different than that. My approach would have been to send a letter back to the DOT saying, you know, yes, we want the tunnel, and no, we are not interested in paying $1 million. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the DOT was just downshifting money onto the town. And, you know, the rail trail is kind of the cornerstone for economic development in the town. And, you know, one of the things about that is that, you know, that everybody deserves a safe and easy access to the rail trail. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Clapp, and I'm running for the open town council seat for District 3. I want to take a moment to thank the Derry School Administration, Tina, the other candidates, and the residents of Derry who are participating tonight. I also want to thank my wife and my family, as this is my third year in a row participating in these forums, and hopefully my last for a few years. So my family and I moved to Derry in 2018. I have 2 children, Sean and Haley, who are 13 and 9. You know, we love Derry and we volunteer in many different ways. My wife has been active in the PTA in the schools. Myself, I've been on the Derry Planning Board, School Fiscal Advisory Committee, and I'm a current school board member in Derry. So I've been asked this question a lot: why am I running? Why do I want to do this? You know, the Derry Town Council is losing 2 dedicated and productive public servants in Josh Borden and Neil Weatherby. The council lost Jim Morgan last year. Derry needs the next generation of residents to step up and provide new voices and ideas. Derry needs this generation to continue the progress and good work since the turnaround in 2016. In my humble opinion, I represent that new generation. As your councilor from District 3, I will support and work towards the following. I believe one of the immediate concerns outside of the budget that will be worked on right away is recruiting a replacement for Dave Karen when he retires. This will be a critical hire, as we cannot have Derry revert back to the days of changing town managers every couple of years. I will work for stable tax rates, keep their tax rate stable, being fiscally responsible, support responsible commercial and residential development. I support increased tax credits for veterans. And one of the things I really stand for is collaboration between all elected officials in Derry. You know, right now we all work in silos, whether it's the school board, town council, and our delegation to Concord. I think it's just not efficient and productive, and I think it hurts us as a town. So, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Nelson. I'm running for town moderator. Again, I would like to thank everyone for coming and watching on TV and getting involved in local politics, because it is important to have all the stakeholders show up and be informed and have their say. I have lived in Derry since there was only one traffic light in town. I don't know who remembers that. I've been involved in a lot of civic organizations and arts organizations, some of which I founded. I was co-incorporator of the Greater Derry Arts Council. I was co-incorporator of the Derry Strategic Planning Group, involved with multiple citizen planning and design charrettes. I spent 10 years on the planning board. I'm now in my second term, come back to the planning board. I'm currently serving as secretary. So I'm retired. I have a lot of time to commit to helping citizens of town, and I thought town moderator is a job that I could do. I have the requisite skill set. I'm very detail-oriented with an engineering background, very fluent in state laws and reading and interpreting and understanding state laws and processes. I'm a process-oriented person. But above all, I value fairness, transparency, honesty, respect for everyone involved in the processes, and respect for the process itself, and of course for state laws and the procedures, because it's a fairly technical job. I thank you, and I ask for your vote on March 14th.
So for those of you that may not know me, my name is Tina Guilford, and I'm running for town clerk. I've been in Derry since 2010 with my husband Sean and my daughter Cassie. What a difference a year makes. This time last year, I was also sitting in a very similar position. I was running for town moderator. And I had had 3 years in a row on the ballot. And my family said, we're done with this, right? Yep, it's a 2-year term, and 2024. Okay. Well, fast forward to the middle of summer, and our town clerk got an offer that he could not refuse. And in the matter of a few days, he was gone. In talking with my family, I turned my entire life upside down. I went from working part-time to working 50 some odd hours a week at town hall. But that's okay. I believe in Derry, and I am here. I show up. And I'm very happy that all of you have shown up tonight. So I am always available. I am I feel like I am always at town hall now. And I certainly hope that all of you will come out to vote on March 14th to support all the candidates who have the courage to put their names on a ballot. Many of you may not know, I've had some medical issues in the past. I do have a clean bill of health. Someone did ask me that not too long ago. So I am good to go, and hopefully, no more names on ballots, I promise. All right, so thank you to all of you that turned out tonight. Like I was saying earlier, the floor is going to be yours. I need you to ask your question. I know, I've already moved on. I need you to ask your question to the office. So when you come up, I think people really liked knowing who was asking the question, so if you could give your name. You don't have to give your address. I'm going to assume you all live in Derry if you're sitting through this. And what office you are asking your question of, okay? With that said, anybody want to ask a question? Come on, who's going to go first?
Good evening. This question is for those running for town council. And this is a two-part question. Since you've all sat on one or more boards in town over the years, what is the one vote that you've taken that you're most proud of? And what's the one vote that you say, I wish I could do that over again?
It looks like I get to go first. Yeah, that's a pretty easy one for me. You know, when I was on the town council, we got into a situation where we wanted to cut taxes, and you know, if I had it all to do over again, I wouldn't have done it the way it went down. You know, it was too much money at one time, and you know, and it was not the way to go. And so, you know, I don't live in the past on that, though. I want to move forward. I've continued to work for the town since I was on the town council, and I think I've done a really good job in everything that I've done. And you know, and ironically, Jim McEachran told me after everything was over, he said, you know, if you guys would have cut 50 cents a thousand for 4 years, you would have been heroes. And I thought, yeah, he's probably right. So, you know, hey, listen, you live and learn, you make mistakes as you go along, and that was the one that I would change. The other thing is, when I was on the town council, we turned the 4A project over to the Department of Transportation, where it should have been, you know, all along. And probably there's probably one other one that we formed the Economic Development Committee. So between the two of those, I think those were two really good votes that I did. The Economic Development Committee did a really good job, and unfortunately the town voted to disband that. I think that was a mistake. I think we need committees like that for citizen input.
Dave, that's a great question, and thank you for asking it. So this current vote I'm going to talk about is, I don't know if I'm most proud of it, but I think it was something that had to be done, and it was a necessity. You know, for the longest time, the school board has been talking about reorganization of our schools, and it's been kicked down the road for a long time, since 2015, or maybe even before that. But the school board made the decision to consolidate our schools with a 5-6 middle school, intermediate school, and a 7-8 middle school, and decided to close the school. Like I said, I don't know if it's something I'm proud of. I think it's something that the board, you know, finally made a tough decision that's not only going to save money that we can reinvest in our schools, whether it's for the deferred maintenance that we need to chip away at, or invest in students. And then, that's that. And then the do-over, I don't know if it's a do-over, but I would say, this past budget that we just approved, we decided to increase class sizes by one student at a few of our schools. When we came into the budget process, I think we were $7 or $8 million above the previous year. And at the end of the process, we had cut just about $4 million to come down to the number we're at, which is about a 3.5% increase over the prior year. So it's not necessarily a do-over, but it's something that I don't want to make a habit of moving forward. I think that's something we did this year that was a necessity to try to keep the tax rate lower and move the needle down from where we started at, because it was a tough budget. Cutting $4.5 million to where we ended up wasn't easy. There was a lot of decisions that had to be made, and that was one that
Time.
I don't think.
So that's going to come down to Richard.
Well, thank you. 2 questions. Well, I believe, wait, how much time do we get?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, all right. I didn't know last time, so I just kept talking. So, all right, the most best decision or vote was, does anybody remember 2015? Yes, 2015 was exciting. I thought I was at a school board meeting with all the police that were at the council meeting. But one of the things that needed to be done is, since Phyllis, Josh, and I, we only had 3 votes and the other people had 4, is we had to figure a way out of getting an election. And I remember Tom was gone when we had a special meeting, and we made a motion to have an election in, I think it was September. So that was the proudest vote I ever made, is so that we could move forward and let the people have a voice in what was going on. A vote I'm not proud of? Well, I don't know if there is a vote I'm not proud of. I know that people seem to think that councilmen are individual contributors. Well, that's not the case. We're a team. We talk about what we're going to do, what our plans are, what our goals are, and when it comes time, we have a meeting, we vote about what we're going to do in public. And like I said, I don't believe that we made that many bad decisions in the past.
Time.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. McPherson, for the question. So the vote that I'm the most proud of has to do with the planning board. There are 2 developments. There's one development on Kendall Pond and Magnolia Street. It was very contentious with the neighbors and the builder, and the neighbors come out and we listened to them, and I was the chairman of the planning board. We did a couple of site walks, and I voted to put that in, and it's a great development. And the reason why I'm proud of that vote is because the people who live there and the neighbors in the neighborhood got what they wanted. They wanted a fence. They wanted stuff that the builder didn't want to build, and they got it because of my one vote and the other vote of the planning board. The vote that I wish I could take back, and I learned my lesson, was dumpster depot. Unfortunately, I voted for that plan. In hindsight, I shouldn't have voted for the plan, but, and that's all I'm going to say for that. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Mr. McPherson, for the question. It's pretty easy for me. The most, my favorite vote that I made, or most proud of, there were 2 of them. One would be for the growth management ordinance and the creation of that, which was basically the framework we used in the town, to move the town forward back in the day. For those that were around, and I see a lot of faces in the audience that were here, it actually answers directly to Mr. Clapp's question. Back then, we did work together. The formation of the growth management ordinance and the long-term budget and the plan that I was part of and created I actually sat down with the school department, Pinkerton Academy, all of the department heads, and together we all sat down and looked at what we needed to do over the course of the next 10 to 20 years, and literally time-aligned everybody's building project, where we all coordinated and worked together, which actually stabilized the tax rate in the town of Derry over time. Many of those projects, and I was reminded by someone a few nights ago who actually went back and did some research when I was on the town council and said, hey, all the stuff you said you were going to do was all in your chairman's report, and it actually got done, and you followed the tenets of the GMO. I kind of wished after we had left office, myself and other people like Gordy Graham and Craig Bulkley, that follow-on councils were going to keep that plan going. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, which has led to some of the comments by some of the other folks up here of now individual silos, which is why I'm running. I want to come back and bring that experience back to the table and reignite that teamwork and the unity we had, because it was very successful the last time I served in the early 2000s. The vote would like do-overs is probably doing some of the rezoning and the replanning we did on the planning board, because you always try to make your best decision for things that are coming in, and every so often you don't hit it out of the park. The good thing about the planning board is if you miss a vote and you don't, change the zone properly, you can always come back. So every so often you kind of mess that one up, and you got to come back and straighten it out again. And we're
Time.
actually seeing that downtown now. Thank
Time.
you, Tina.
All right, next question.
Brian Chiricello, for the town council. Please raise your hand if you've actually read the charter, town charter. Town charter. Okay. 3 out of the 5 have read the town charter. Okay. So my question is going to be, there are 3 petitions: free petition, initiative petition, and referendum petition. And I want to find out what your understanding of a referendum petition actually is and does. And if allowed, I can read it if you so want me to.
If you would like to read it,
Feel
it
free
would
to
probably
read
be.
I can't hear any of what he was saying.
He wants to know who read the town charter.
Yeah.
And
Have
then
you read
he's
the
gonna
town
read
charter?
a re- He's going to
Anyone-
read a
any of the
referendum
town-
petition.
Right, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, okay, yeah, I have read that.
He's going to read what a
Have you read the
referendum-
town charter?
I read it, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read Part C. Action on a petition, a referendum petition has been finally determined to be sufficient. The town council shall reconsider the protest measure or part thereof by voting whether to repeal it. If the town council fails to repeal the protested measure or part thereof within 30 days after the day of the petition was finally declared sufficient, the town council shall submit the protested measure or part thereof to a vote of the town at a special town election to be held on a date fixed by the town council. And then it goes into the time frame. So what I like to know, my question is how do you interpret what I said for what a referendum petition does?
So the question will start with David.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
So I'll be frank. I don't have a lot of experience in that, and it's something that, and I'll be frank. In anything I've done in my professional career, whenever I don't have experience or don't understand, I follow up and figure it out and get the answers I need. That's suited me well in my career. But I will definitely do that, Brian. And at this point in time, I don't have an answer for you. But I appreciate the question, and I will take the time to follow up and get that. Thank you.
Now it's going to go down to Richard.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I remember this. I think there was 8 referendum petitions. Essentially, what it is that the people have an opportunity to contest a position that the council has taken. And if I don't remember how many signatures you need, I'm sure that somebody does. But once that is completed, then the referendum petition has to be reviewed to see if it's complete, and there's it's valid. which is, I don't remember, but after that, then it becomes the council's job to act upon it, to either accept it or reject it. And I believe that's what a referendum petition is.
Thank you, Mr. Chiricello, for the question. For my recollection, referendum, I believe you need 500 votes from the citizens of Derry to put that on the referendum. So that it's their voice against something that they didn't like in the town. These are all in my words, too, because I can't remember exactly. And like Mr. Tripp said, then it would go to the town council, be approved. I'm assuming that it would be approved by the general council of the town also. And then it would be voted on. It would be a special election of the citizens of Derry.
Just a minute, and then, okay, just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I'm just going to echo the comments that were made by both Richard and David. There was an initiative petition, I'm assuming Brian's referring to what we talked about earlier, when Tom said was one of his regrets was the major cuts in the budget, when the citizens got together and didn't like that, and then put together a petition, presented it to the town council to go back and restore all those cuts, and that was the process that they followed. They followed the petition portion of the town charter that allowed them to present their evidence, present their details, went to the town council, and if memory serves, that even weaseled its way through the court system at some point, at least in that particular case, but it doesn't have to. Council makes their decision, and then there's a special election, and the results of the election are what they are at the time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Brian. Yeah, I'm going to echo what these two guys said. It's basically the citizens get together and they have a petition and they present it to the town council on something that they want change, and the council accepts it, and if they accept it, it goes on the ballot.
All right, next question.
Thank you, Tina. John O'Connor, Derry. My question has been prompted by Mr. Clapp had said it earlier, because he opened up the conversation regarding the school board. And so, Mr. Clapp, and then follow with the rest of the town council, is that if you're elected, would you look at opening up the Charter Commission again, which there's two of us that are here now that were on the former Charter Commission, and dissolve the Derry Cooperative School System? That's my question.
Starts with Richard, yep.
As an obligatory statement, that's a great question. And I'm glad you asked it. But I believe that's something that is warranted, because the charter was written, back in the late 90s? And, it was good for that time frame. But I think as time moves on, it needs to be adapted. That's like the Founding Fathers. When they wrote the Constitution, they realized that it was good for the time frame that it was in, but it's not going to be good forever. So there's, I believe in the charter, there's a vehicle for amending it or rewriting it, and it's one of those things that when it's necessary to do that, you do it. So, yes, it seems that the time has come to take a look at the charter and see what can be done to make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor, for the question. As far as reopening the charter, I would look at it, and I would see if anything needs to be changed with the fellow councilors, put that out to the town. As far as myself personally, I would not look to abolish the Derry Cooperative School District. Thank you.
Again, thank you, John, for the question. Having been the former chairman of the most recent Charter Commission in the early 2000s, we do, from time to time, go back through the charter And one of the things in the question is, as I understand, John, the dissolving of the Derry School SAU. You cannot do that in the charter. There are only two ways of dissolving the Derry School SAU. You need a vote of the citizens of the town of Derry to vote it. The only other way to dissolve the current school district system is through that or a vote of the New Hampshire legislature. As we discussed at our last meetings, possibility of becoming a city, one of the reasons to become a city is everybody's kind of under one form of government, but in the case of Derry, because of the structure of the SAU, you can't even do that. So you'd become a city with just a city council, and the school department would still be separate. The only way, to address your question, John, is to go to a vote of the citizens to dissolve the school district or a vote of the state legislature. The second part of that question, now, should we go back and look at the town charter? Yeah, it's probably about time. You should probably give it a look-see about every 10 to 20 years, and it's been about 15 right now since the last time we did it. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, John. I'm assuming that what you're getting at is to get the school department budget under the town council, because we are, the town council is under a tax cap. I would be willing to look at it, but I have to be brutally honest with you. I think it's going to be very difficult, and I think it would be a big fight in the town, and I'm not sure if I would want to do something like that. You know, if you look at it, I mean, the town budget goes up by the consumer price index, and that's usually around 3%, 3 or 4%. I don't know what it is this year, but what is it? 6%. Okay. So look at it. So 6%. So 6% of the school budget, they would go up $6 million. And you know, I think the school is starting to move in the right direction after the last meeting, and I think that would be a very, very difficult fight, and I'm not sure that's one that I would want to be involved in, but I absolutely would look at that if somebody presented that to the town council.
Thank you, John, for the question. I have no problem opening up and reviewing and see what needs to be tweaked, but I'm not in favor of dissolving the Derry Cooperative School System. And, you know, it's funny, people complain a lot about the budget of the schools, but we have a budget being presented that's 3.5% higher than the previous year, which is well below the tax cap. And I feel it's necessary to keep the school system and the town separate, and they should continue that way moving forward. You know, now's not the time to have a fight like that, as this gentleman mentioned. We have significant issues that we're dealing with in the school system regarding deferred maintenance that we're trying to resolve. We're going to have an 18-month reorg plan that's going to be all hands on deck. It's going to take citizens of this town, teachers, the administration, the school board. There's going to be a lot going on these next 18 months, and this is definitely not the time to be having this conversation or fight. We need people to be unified in this town. We need to move forward with, you know, a unified town that works together to move forward with this new reorganization of our school system. And what I forgot to mention before is, yes, we're saving $2 million, and we reinvest that money into our deferred maintenance and student initiatives, but we're going to do this reorg without affecting student education. So, and we need all hands on deck for that to happen, and I don't think now's the time to divide and conquer our town, divide our town on this issue. Thank you.
Next question.
Good evening. I'm Jim Dietzel, 1100 Drive. Last year, the town council approved and provided funding for a new fire station to replace the one at the Circle, and it was expensive. But since we properly bonded it, and we're going to mitigate the cost a little bit with the sale of the property at the Circle, it's reasonable. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on doing something similar for the outdated police station.
Dave. You're first.
Me?
Mhm.
Yeah, it starts with you.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Diesel. Years ago, at the planning board, I said that we should have a public safety building, police and fire. I've been saying that for years. A lot has to do with because I work in law enforcement, and I helped design, build one of our new facilities that we built in 1991 in Boston. I believe the police station is definitely outdated. I was actually in there this evening, and I was in there the other day. I would definitely be for building a new police station, updated, all new stuff for our police department. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Me? Yeah, great. Thank you very much for the question. Again, I'm going to go back to a format of creation of a growth management ordinance, again, a redoing it. If you actually looked at the plan that was in place, the fire station that was just put in was supposed to be done somewhere around 2010 or 2012. That was already set. It's 10 to 12 years too late. It was in a plan before and kept getting delayed by former councils. To address that, just like you said with the police building, we need to get everybody together. You've just heard, and David, Mr. Clapp just talked about deferred maintenance in the schools. Everybody's got to work together on that. So creating a plan that we're all working together towards can help solve that problem. And it's the same thing with the police building. It's definitely needed. It's good property. The property that sits on is coming off exit 4A, which makes that a very valuable piece of real estate right now. So you could get a fair amount of money for it, but you still have to coordinate that with all the other buildings that are going on in town, and make sure you do it right to minimize any tax impact, and you offset that with the growth and the economic development at the exit 4A and Ryan's Hill. You just got to do it the right way. It can be very easily done, but you have to get everybody, all the stakeholders sitting at a table, creating a plan and then following through. But that means subsequent councils have to keep doing the plan. And that's critical to doing something like that. But I would endorse that.
Yeah, I'd also be in favor of looking at that, but certainly not right now with building a new fire station and adding more money to the, to our taxes. But I think that definitely is something that needs to be done, and I agree that we need it. But the same time, the town was looking at building a safety center, or safety complex, but I think that was like $50 million. It was pretty high. So yes, we should look at it, but I don't think that's in the cards in the near future.
So one of the lessons I learned this past year is, as we were discussing building a new school, one of the things I think that we didn't consider was what the town was doing with the fire station, right? And how that wouldn't be feasible to do those two big projects in the same year. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter because we didn't get the funding we needed from the state. But, I think we'll echo what we've said all night is everyone says we need to work together to figure out what the capital needs are in each whether it's a school, the town, and what our capital needs are, and build a plan together to make that happen. A capital improvement plan, whatever, 5-10 years. We need to really hammer that out and figure out how that would work. I definitely support a new police station, of course. We're the fourth largest town in the state. We should have good facilities for our first responders, for anybody, for our schools. We deserve to have good facilities for being the fourth largest town in the state. The one thing I have concerns with, the bond rates right now probably aren't as favorable as that we'd like. So it may not happen in the next couple of years, but it's something that I would like to look at when the bond rates come down and we work together and figure out a priority list of what needs to get done in this town between the schools and the facilities for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great question. I know when I was last on the council, which is 2 years ago, one of the discussions that we'd been having was 2 years, 3 years. Anyhow, one of the discussions we've been having, with the fire department was the coverage gap that is in West Derry. And the number of fire stations being what it is, there was no plan to build another one without retiring one, because four fire stations is about what is necessary since you have that many battalions or whatever. So I believe that the current council looked at the central station, which is at the traffic circle, and was convinced that its time had passed and that there was need for a new one. And sure enough, they decided to build a station down in this section of town to fill that coverage hole. The thing that is necessary is that you notice that this is something that, as Mr. McEachran had said, was planned for. You know, it was delayed a little bit, but you know, it was planned for, and there was funding for it. So things work out when you have a plan. Thank you.
All right, next question.
Hi, Brenda Wilson, 4 Greenwich Road. This is to the town council. This is a follow-up to the question that the gentleman asked about what you're most proud of and what would you like to do over. It was a great question, so he kind of stole my thunder, so thank you. So in today's Derry News, there was, you all kind of wrote in about why to vote for you, and I saw a common theme. You want to be the person that anyone can come to. You'll listen to them. I want to be a council member that listens to the community with no hidden agendas. So my experience was completely opposite of what everyone's saying. It was more of being ignored and being disrespected. And I'd like to know if you want our vote, how can we be assured that this time you're going to listen to what the people want? And Mr. Granese, I commend you for your comment. I appreciate it. 7.5 years waiting for that comment, so I appreciate it. And I really hope that my presence here was not what prompted that, and that truly would have been your response. Thank you.
All right, Jim, this question starts with you.
Sure. Well, I will stand by my record of service to the public and answering questions and being open and honest with everybody for all the years I've served on the various boards and commissions. Both the planning board and my past terms on the town council, I've always made myself available anytime anybody wanted to talk to me or reach out to me. In working with, you know, both the school department and Pinkerton Academy and all the various department heads, and working with citizens on a variety of projects, be it what is now known as the Don Ball Park. It used to be the Derry Playground. Any other organization I've been affiliated with, I think it's incumbent upon everybody to be respectful and listen to everybody. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everybody. Clearly, that's not going to happen all the time. But you need to listen to everybody's opinion, respect their opinion, you know, keep your notes, do your homework, and then make the decision that you feel is best for the position you've been given. And I've done that in the past, and I will continue to do the same.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. My basic question was, how can we be assured that if you want our vote, that you're going to listen to what the people want, even if it could be a minority of people? Because my experience in the past dealing with town council and planning board on some occasions was more of disrespect, condescension, and really just being ignored. So how can, if you want our vote, and I'm District 3 also, so
Okay.
I know I have 2 votes for the councilor at large in District 3.
Okay.
How can we be assured that you're going to listen to the people?
All right, I'm gonna go back to the past, and I don't want to do this, but I'm going to go back to the past. In 2015, when we were, you know, when we wanted to cut taxes, and I had knocked on several hundred doors for a couple of years before I was finally elected. And overwhelmingly, every door that I knocked on, they all talked about lower taxes and lower taxes and lower taxes. And when that opportunity came to me, and the town council had the opportunity to cut taxes, I stuck by my word, because that's what I campaigned on, was lower taxes. And I remember being up in the State House with speaking, and we were, you came up to me, Brian, you came up to me and said, you can roll the dice, but you're probably going to lose your seat. And I knew I was going to lose my seat, because what we were doing was pretty unpopular. But I stuck by my word, and I lost my seat. And you know what? It's okay, because I'd rather walk away from a situation like that where I've kept my word, I said what I was going to do, and I did it. And, of course, I wouldn't do that again, but, that's all you have is your word. And once you don't have your word, you're in trouble.
So that's a great question. I appreciate it. One of the things I pride myself on, I've only been in public office, elected office for this past year, but one of the things I pride myself on, I'm always available. What you see is what you get with me. I'll tell you how I feel about an issue, and we can talk about it, and that's how I am. One of the better compliments that I got is he listens, but I don't always agree with him. And that was coming from, someone I was with. So with regard to this most recent reorg plan, there was a lot of tension and there was a lot of anxiety around the decision of a school closure reorg plan. I spent 2 hours on a Friday morning at a former South Range teacher and a former union head. We sat there and we talked. She gave her side, I gave my side, and we talked about other things, personal things. But I made the time to go to her house. I sat there for 2 hours and had the discussion with her. And that's who I am, and that's what I do. And what I expect of others, I do myself. So I can appreciate what you're saying, because I've had similar experiences with other elected officials where they may not get back to me, or they're just done with me because I'm a squeaky wheel sometimes. But regardless, people have my phone number. I let them call me. I talk to them on the phone. Email all the time. I go through email. And quite frankly, I actually discourage the Facebook conversation. I say, hey, private message me your number, or I'll reach out to you. Because I think written words is just too hard to get your point across. I'm more of an advocate of phone conversations, meet face-to-face. And I've had those meetings too. I've met people at the coffee factory, whatever. That's just who I am. That's what I do. And that won't change if I get elected to the town council.
Like Tom, I had a hard time hearing your question, but I believe what you're asking for is that the elected officials be responsive to the citizens. And apparently you've had some bad experience with the response from the elected officials. I'm a big one on transparency. When we're having discussions on the council, I always one that was asking questions, because I knew that maybe I understood what was going on, but I was under the assumption that the citizens were not. One of the times that this happened was when we were putting in the first solar field. I had asked several times that the vendor come in so that we could ask questions, so that the people that were funding this, the citizens, would have a better idea of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're funding it. That's I think part of the response to what you're talking about. If you have questions, you have an opportunity to come up to the podium in the council chamber, and during public comment, You can talk about anything you want to. You can ask questions about anything you want to. You know, communication's a two-way path. You know, you need to let us know what you're concerned about so that we can research it and respond. You know, I know that one of the ways you can do it is email or Facebook, but
Time.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for the question. I believe that was 2013, 2014. I publicly apologize if I disrespected you in any way. That I grew up a lot. I'm 60 years old now. And I just want to apologize to anybody that I disrespected. I learned my lesson from that. And I'm going to say it right now and here, in public, on TV and everywhere, that if I do get elected to council and I disrespect any citizen of Derry, I will step down immediately. And that's all I have to say.
All right, next question.
Well, I thought about that. I was going to ask if I can ask more than one, or ask one now and come back later. But I guess my question I'll go to the town councilors with, okay? With the recession and the fact the interest rates and all that's going to be going up, it's going to be a lot of stress on the homeowners. So what I kind of want to do is ask a question about taxes, okay? So, the simple fact is we have 13,000 households in Derry, okay? It's 4,500 children roughly in our school. David, don't shoot me if I get the number wrong, okay? But it's pretty close. Right, that's really one child for every 3 households, okay? I mean, Salem is the only other place with more apartments than us, okay? The planning boards voted to put in over 400 new apartments over in the West Runningbrook zone, okay? There's also another 244 apartments proposed for downtown, okay? As part of the, you know, Dave, you were up there, Jim, you were up there, you guys were all part of that planning process to put in all those apartments, okay? It's a total of 600 new apartment units slated to come into Derry, okay? That would add an additional 200 children to the schools that, as I understand, Mr. Clapp's trying to downsize. Our schools, the cost would approximately be $15,000 per child, or $3 million in new taxes to the residents each year. My question is very simple. Guys that are on the planning board and your councilors, the guys that are running for council, do you plan to continue to support bringing in more and more apartments that could potentially raise the taxes on the single home owner? I'm sorry if that was long-winded.
No, that's okay.
That's okay.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I'm not happy with the number of apartments that are coming into town. There's like you said, over 600 apartments that are going to be within a 2.5-mile radius, and I believe there's going to be another complex where the Watts Garage was, and I think there's probably going to be more in the Abbott Court area also. And you know, the problem is it's going to have a huge effect on our infrastructure. I mean, think about it: fire, police. Schools are grappling right now with you know, whether or not to close a school. And if we have, I don't know, 200 I think might be high, but I think that you know, the town has it down for 80 for those four projects, and I think 80 is way too low for the number of students coming in. And you know, at one of the planning boards, when the Keystone project was approved, one of the counselors, one of the planning board members made the statement that if 4 more students come into the Keystone project, it's going to be tax negative. And you know, I'm okay with some of the projects that they're bringing in, but the problem is that they're supposed to have a component for commercial, retail, and you know, the Keystone project, the planning board waived that. And, the whole purpose of that is, of course, to ensure that we get businesses that come in with these huge complex. And, the other thing is the Abbott Court is the parking garage. The town's paying $845,000 to do the planning. I believe they're probably going to bond the parking garage, which basically puts the town of Derry in the parking garage business. And there should be 360 spots over there. There's 330 spots. You're losing 65 spots in Abbott Court anyway. So you're going to be down 100 parking spots. And I don't know what's going to happen when we have, all these big events in town. Thank you.
That's a great question you asked, but I respectfully disagree with your assessment on how many children will be coming to town. So at our last school board meeting, its timing is perfect, actually. Pinkerton provided us their 5-year projection, and we're similar in these ranges. 23, 24, 28, 98, 24, 25, 25, 26, somewhere in the 27, 50 range. So it goes down a little bit. And then it goes back up in 26, 27, and 27, 28 to right around where we are in the 23, 24 numbers. So we have the Davis demographics, which probably need to be updated. I'm sure, projects have changed since the last one that's done. But historically, Davis demographics has done a good job of telling us where we're going to be as a town and where we're going to go in the future. So I have a lot of faith in those numbers because they've been accurate in the past, and I can't see that they won't be accurate moving forward. To your question about apartments and my limited time in the planning board, I served out a 1-year term for an individual. In the West Rhinebrook district, I believe we need more mixed use in there and more commercial in those developments than what's happening right now, from what I understand. So I'm a proponent of that. With regards to Abbott Court and the parking garage, my understanding is that, we would bond that $9 million, but to help pay off that bond, we'd use TIF revenues that would help pay that off. And from my understanding, that would not affect the taxpayers of Derry. And then I won't get into too much granular on that, but that's kind of where I'm at, Mark, and I respectfully disagree with the numbers that you're proposing for the children that will come in the district, because it has been studied and previously studied, and the numbers have been pretty accurate. And I don't think that will change if we do another study next year or whatever the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, I didn't get a chance to finish my introduction, but one of the things I was going to talk about is that this is my 3rd year up at the State House. Previously, I'd been on the Municipal and County Committee, which deals with zoning, well, actually not zoning, but land use law. I'm not on that committee anymore, but one of the big topics of conversation, I believe, in the state and at the State House is the housing shortage. I don't have a TV, so I don't get to watch Channel 9, but I believe that they probably talk about that every now and then. One of the things that Derry's benefit is we're not like a lot of other towns in that we don't have enough housing for the people that live here. And one of the things that is needed is the middle housing, which is apartments, so that people that aren't ready to buy a house or can't afford to buy a house, they have someplace to live. Now, I realize that the town has authorized a lot of new apartments. Well, that's one of the things that happens when there's a housing shortage. I know that it's going to bring people in. It'll bring workers in. It may bring some kids in, but we need kids too, because the town, the state is graying. People are getting old. We need people to replace us old people. So looks like I'm almost done, so I'm going to quit before I get into something.
Thanks, Mr. Flats, for the question. As far as apartments, we have enough apartments in Derry. What we need is more workforce housing. We need housing that people can afford in Derry. You go to some apartments and some condos, they're paying $2,500, $2,900, $3,000 a month rent. What we need is we need workforce housing that has like 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, maybe on a slab, something that's affordable, $340,000, $350,000, if people want to downsize, and that's going to bring revenue to the town. As far as that big development down at the Watts Garage, I haven't seen anything on that yet in the West Runningbrook district, and we have enough apartments down there. We do need more mixed-use development, we need more economic development, and we need more revenues to town. And I'm not going to really get into the Abbott Court area, but as far as a parking garage, I don't know if they're looking to do a fee for that like Manchester does, but during certain times, but that could be guaranteed revenue to the town. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mark. Yeah, the complex that you're talking about across from the garage is a fairly substantial apartment building complex, but it also does have 2 mixed-use buildings in there for professional office buildings, as does the rest of the district known as the West Runningbrook District. The Planning Board spent a lot of time working with economic development team, as well as David pointed out, the school board, to look at the effects of how many children, what goes into that formula, and while your numbers are mathematically correct, 13,000 houses, 4,500 kids, and doing the math that way, it is not accurate when you actually have to factor in all the other numbers, which would include the market rate or the rate of the apartments, the size of the apartments, is it 1 bedroom, is it 2 bedroom? So there's a whole series of factors went into those calculations that we shared with the school board, which is where the numbers come from. And we all came to the conclusion that that apartment complex is not going to have a negative impact on the schools. And in fact, you are correct, at some point, buildings become cash negative, tax negative, and we were under the, at this point, working with those, and same with the West Runningbrook District. You have the development at the Saragusa Farm, the development across the street, going in at Tim Butterfield's property, all of which have major components of mixed use, as was recognized by Mr. Grenice and supported by the other people here. Overall, we're looking at that whole area to be a tax positive. That doesn't mean every single property would be, but overall, the district would do that. The effect of the Abbott Court, we have not seen that project at the planning board at this point in time, but I would wholly endorse using the TIF district funding for that. Having done one of those in the past, they're very successful. Utilizing a TIF district for downtown, there would be no tax impact on the citizens because the project itself would pay for the taxes over time. It's a very targeted vehicle that's been used, and it's been used successfully in this town a couple times.
All right. We have a question that's not for the town council.
Oh, man, look at this, huh? I have one that can apply across the board.
Well, then you can wait. She's already standing there.
Hi, I'm Judy Strakalitis. I have a question for the library trustee candidates. Good
luck.
Sorry, David. I'd like to know what you see as the purview of library trustees, specifically what role, if any, you play in collection development and programming. Thank you.
Hi, Judy. I'm sorry I didn't catch your last name, but thank you for the question. So our purview as far as specifically to what you're asking about for collections and programming, sorry. So we actually, as trustees, don't have input on that. That is, that's based on, that's totally up to the librarians and the staff. And if there was something that that the director brought to our attention that could be, he has brought something to our attention that was like, hey, I know I don't need your approval for this, but I'm just letting you know we do get that information. But as far as like, do we choose the books? Do we choose? No, we don't. We approve the budget. We But yeah, we don't do that.
I think we're all pretty much going to say the same thing because it's sort of a fact type of question. But we hire the director, and the director hires everybody else. So we only have direct input, with the director. We trust the director to make good decisions, and that's why we go through all kinds of things when we hire them. And we do approve hiring of other staff, but we don't deal with them directly. The director hires the staff, and then just we okay it, basically. As far as any kind of collections or programming, the same thing. The staff does everything. The director approves that. We don't approve it. It's just the director.
So I will agree with the others. We are responsible for policy, personnel, and the budget. We would handle a challenge to a book that would come to the trustees at the end, but that's but that's it. And we do not do any programming. We enjoy what they do, but we don't do any programming ourselves. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
My question is...
A little closer so they can hear you.
Okay, my name's Debbie McGee, and my question is for the librarians, people. It's regarding books and everything that's been in the news about books that not that we want banned, but that we want them to be sexually appropriate for that age group. And I know you said you don't get into the programming, but since it is controversial and some of these issues might come to your level, could you address, your stance and how you would handle that? Because some of the books that I've seen, we're talking middle school, and they're giving pictures and instructions on gay sex. And I don't want to get graphic, but I have to be specific because this is really what's out there if you look online. They're talking about anal sex, oral sex to middle school students with graphics and instruction. And even the younger kids are having inappropriate books out there. So if it reaches your level and it's highly controversial, what's your stance on that and how would you handle those issues?
So it's going to start with Monica.
Well, first, if you are unhappy with any book that's in the library, you have recourse to put in a request for reconsideration, and that goes to the staff, and they approve it or not. If it could go up to the director. The trustees only deal with appeals to decisions by the staff and the director of the library, if that's considered. However, there is the American Library Association has a Bill of Rights, and I'm just going to read a paragraph here. It says, library policies and procedures that effectively deny minors equal and equitable access to all library resources and services available to other users is in violation of the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights. The American Library Association opposes all attempts to restrict access to library services, materials, and facilities based on the age of library users. This is a national policy. Thank you.
I would agree with Monica. My point is that you have the right to bring up a dispute with a particular item in the library. We trust our department heads. Our children's room is headed by very knowledgeable, competent people. And so we trust what they choose as part of their collection. If you have a dispute with it, you are welcome to bring it to them. There is a form you can fill out to dispute the particular item, and it will go through a channel and be looked at by staff members and the director, and they will make the decision. The Board of Trustees does not get involved unless there is an appeal to that afterwards. If you don't agree with their decision, then we would get involved.
So I'll be echoing what they said. So there's a process. We actually just went through and updated with the policy committee, which Monica's on as well, just updated the procedures just to have more up-to-date, just a more up-to-date flow, if you will, as far as what rules, what steps to follow, just to make it easier for us, to make it more clear for anybody who's going through this process. And so if there's any book that is challenged or said, should be removed or whatever, like they said, it goes through a process, and this is all available online to look at. And what is it, every 3 years you can go back? Like if a book has been challenged and said it's approved to stay in the library, then you can come back in 3 years and do it again when there might be a change of library trustees, since when you're elected, you're on for 3 years. That way, maybe you might have a different group of trustees to be working with for the appeal, if that makes sense. So that's that.
All right, next question.
Claudette Maycumber, for the librarians.
Wow. We're just getting on it.
I wanted you to feel like you were really wanted here. Since you are the people that are in charge of hiring the person that makes the programs, I guess my question for you is, and I think this is on an individual basis for each of you, do you think that the library should meet the needs of all children, especially teens, LGBTQ children, and children with different cultures and ethnic backgrounds?
Thank you for that. Can you just repeat a little bit of that again? I think we had a little difficulty hearing you, just a little bit.
Ask again?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm concerned that the library meets the needs of LGBTQ children, children with different ethnic backgrounds. I guess I'm also really concerned about getting correct historical knowledge about their country and the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering where you stood on that as individuals.
Okay, thank you. I think, again, the board does not hire the individual staff. We hire the director. And so we put our faith in that process. And that is a long process that we go through to hire the director. We right now have an excellent director in Eric Stern, who is also a lawyer. So he has that legal knowledge on top of running a library knowledge that he already has. So I feel like I know he is open to supporting children of all kinds, of everybody, no matter what. And I know that our children's department feels exactly the same way.
So I'll agree with what Meryl just said, and I'll add that actually we just had a strategic planning meeting, and this came up, not this particular thing, but I guess just making sure that we as a library are more just reaching the diverse populations in the community. And they're actually, we have it on our strategic planning plan to take our next steps as far as doing a pregnancy brain. Give me a minute. Just doing a poll, if you will, of the community, just to make sure that we are actually supporting the needs of the community, and not just Derry, because we do know that people outside of Derry do come as well into the library. So just making sure that we that we are fully supporting and meeting the needs of everyone. So.
I also want to say that the staff at the Derry Public Library is very diverse in all the ways that you are concerned about, and so are the trustees, actually. I have a transgender child myself, and so everyone is very sympathetic to all of those needs for all ages and all diversities.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
No.
not very inclusive.
Good evening. I'm Liz Greenberg, and I just want to acknowledge everyone sitting up there for your public servant attitude and for being here and undergoing all of this grilling. My question is for our candidate for moderator. It's just awful to be sitting there and ready to answer questions and nobody singles you out. I've been pondering how to couch my question. We have an excellent person in that role currently, and I'd like to know what it is about you that you think you would be bringing to the role differently than our current moderator, who isn't here tonight because she's training people for the upcoming election. Thank you.
Right, thanks for the question. I don't believe in saying anything bad about any other candidate, so I'm going to try to couch this in terms of why you would be pleased with the job I do if you vote for me. I'm very conscientious about these things. I'm kind of honest as the day goes long. I like to follow the laws. I like to keep everyone happy when that's possible. Now, there are a lot of laws that restrict how elections take place, and moderators don't have a lot of discretion within that. But I think the job is to facilitate the best experience for candidates and voters and the team that's working, the town clerk, the supervisors of the checklist, all of the assistant moderators and other poll worker volunteers, and to make sure that things flow correctly. And if there's an error, that it gets addressed as quickly as it can be within, again, the constraints of state law. I personally think that New Hampshire in general and Derry in specific runs extremely clean elections. There were some rumors on social media that I had views contrary, and that has never been the case. It's certainly not the case now. And so I will work very hard to uphold that record that shines a light in the state. And as someone told me, the town administrator wants to make sure that Derry does not appear in the news with respect to our election processes, and I will promise to work very hard that that doesn't happen. And because I'm a retiree, I've got plenty of time and plenty of energy to put it in the job. So that's the people skills, the knowledge, the analytical skills, and the dedication. That's really kind of what I would try to sell myself. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, it looks like it's all people who've already, nope, you're new. New people first.
Hi, my name is Kathy McDonald, and I don't have a question for the librarians, but lots of thanks. You do great jobs. I mean, the trustees. Going back to the town council, Mr. Cardin brought up the rail trail, and themes that have been coming up in the comments are safety and being responsive to people's wishes. The voters, the residents of Derry have come in this building and let their voices be known for their support for the tunnel. We've had several town council meetings where not only residents but businesses supported the tunnel. What would you be willing to do to stop 1,000 people per day going across 6 lanes of traffic with 40,000 vehicles? Because that's what we're going to have to live with. That is the first choice you have on the Department of Transportation spaghetti plan. It leads to that intersection. With the tunnel, you go under the intersection. You are going to go to the intersection, and if you don't choose that, you're walking down a 6-lane highway with driveways in a street that you have to cross, and then you go under a bridge with oncoming bicycles that can't see you. What would you be willing to do? Would you ask for a vote? Thank you.
So David, that starts with you.
Yep. Kathy, I appreciate the question. So my thought on the tunnel is, I support the tunnel, by the way, and but I don't support Derry having to pay for it. I think we need to hold the DOT accountable for what they agreed to, and what what next steps are. I mean, we'd have to talk to legal counsel and figure out how we'd move forward if we pursue that. And what's troubling too is I was watching one of the finance committee meetings, and Representative Pearson read a letter by Josh Borden that I had heard, and he had mentioned that they had several meetings separate from a council meeting with the DOT and other related people in the meeting, and the DOT promised that would not be additional costs to Derry if we moved forward with that option. It was read in public, it was read at the meeting, and we're the fourth largest town in the state. We should and we need to have more pull when it comes to what we deserve in this town. And in my opinion, as you mentioned, safety in this case is the utmost importance and should be respected. I know there's probably a lot of information that a lot of us may not be privy to as not being on the council, but those are my views and that's how I feel. And if there was a vote to be taken at the council and we were told that we would not be responsible for that at $750,000, I think the number was, I would be in favor of I would be in favor to move forward. I guess the troubling part for me too is we have conflicting information on interpretation by two different law firms. So that definitely needs to get hashed out between the rail trails lawyer and the town's lawyer. So I think I would need a better understanding of where we really fall in the process. But that's where I'm at with that. Thank you.
Goes to Richard.
I was assuming that this would come up since we'd had so much discussion about this at the council meeting. David brought up the hearings up at the State House. I was not at the hearings, but I did watch the finance hearings where Representative Pearson and the president of the Rail Trail Association, Mark Connors, spoke. There was also another person that spoke, the lawyer for Woodmont. His concern, and he said that he's not involved with the rail trail, he's not involved with the crossings, he doesn't care if you had helicopters ferrying people across the crossing. What he was concerned with was yet another delay. They're trying to move forward, they're trying to get Woodmont done. And I believe that if they delay a little bit more, they're going to find out that the property that Woodmont owns that is necessary to connect the trail is not going to be available to the rail. You're going to have a rail trail coming up to that. You're going to have a rail trail going through Londonderry. But as for the tunnel, I really don't care. I do know that if you have used the rail trail, that there are multiple at-grade crossings. So it's not like people don't understand how to use the buttons to turn the blinkers on and stop the traffic.
Time.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald, for the question. I did publicly say on Facebook that I would support the tunnel. And I said that because of public safety, because I am public safety. I would make sure that taxpayer money is not paid for any of that. I would hold the DOT accountable. I would write a letter to the DOT and telling them they need to build that, and you have to be accountable for that. You have to pay for that. I would also reach out to all our county officials, county commissioner, state reps, senators, and I would tell them, you need to force the DOT to build that tunnel, and the DOT needs to pay for that tunnel. The safety, of the citizens of Derry and everybody in that using that rail trail is priority number one. Definitely would not use taxpayer money. Thank you.
I guess I'll echo the sentiments of all the other gentlemen that have spoken here. It is a very complex issue with a lot of moving parts. I think the current town council has taken some votes. Those votes should be respected. I do know that there's obviously things going on in the legislation, as been pointed out here by Representative Pearson, and he's working on some things. However that manifests itself and whatever comes out, I will support that end result. As far as, I also agree with everybody up here, Derry shouldn't have to pay for any of the things in the tunnel, whether it's the tunnel or what I'm going to call the S-curve. We shouldn't have to pay. It should be part of the project. And, you know, you also have to work with the developer who owns the land on the other side. And some of the agreements that he has already committed to would clearly have to be altered if the tunnel comes through. And I'm not privy to any of those discussions or where they stand in the negotiation process, but that also would need to be factored in. Again, it's a matter of getting everybody together and seeing what's in the best interest, but I do support what everybody's saying up here, not on Derry's dime, and we can see where we go from there, and whichever happens, I would be happy to support.
I was at the meeting in Concord for the bill, and I also testified about it. And you know, one of the things that they said was that there was nobody from the town council there to support the bill, and I think that was wrong. I think what needs to happen is the town council needs to get together, and they need to support the bill, and they need to support the tunnel. In terms of delays, the project is going to be delayed another year anyway. It's going to take them 11 months to buy the 50 properties that are left. So another delay for another year. Hey, you know, it's been delayed for a decade. And Woodmont does not own that property. The property owned by, well, one of the developers, Hyrax Dairy. It's a crazy piece of property. It goes like this. And there's absolutely no way that they can use that piece of land except for what they're planning for. And in all honesty, I mean, you know, Woodmont wants that tunnel. Woodmont wants the bike path there with all the development that's going on there. And I think the spaghetti plant, I think the spaghetti part, I think that's going to be flooding in the spring also. I would write the Federal Highway Administration. I would also send a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers and say, you know, the plan that they're presenting is going to create a hazard. It's going to be unsafe. I would, if I'm elected, I will ask the town council in my first meeting to relook at the tunnel thing, the tunnel project. And in terms of the law firms, I've read that contract, and you know, I was on the council when we first started doing the contract for 4A, and in the last section there was language in there that gave the DOT the right to do what they're doing. I never would have let that go through. Never, ever. Actually, I had the contract, and I have all kinds of notes written all over it. It shouldn't have been done.
All right. So, how many more questions do we have? So we have 3 questions from 3 people that already asked. Okay, are you asking the same office or a different office?
I'll go with a different office.
Okay, then you can go first.
All right, so this question's to you.
Okay.
Okay, see, now everybody else has gotten a question. You haven't gotten one. I know you're the only person on the ballot, but why are you on the ballot? What is the improvement you think you can make during your next term? Or what would you like to make or try to do?
Okay, well, thank you for the question.
Right, I didn't want you getting up there alone.
That's okay. So why am I on the ballot? I'm on the ballot because I said when I took this position in August that I would run. So I kind of declared my candidacy long before anybody else did. What can I do? Honestly, it is a job that requires a lot of attention to detail and organization, and it actually suits me a heck of a lot more than I thought it would. There is a lot to organize. Being responsible for all of Derry's records, going back to the 1800s, is massive. Various town clerks in the past some have done a great job, some have not, organizing them, and I have slowly started going through them all. And I'm looking forward to working with future town councils to continue to preserve the history that is contained in the Derry Municipal Center. We have records going back to the 1800s, amazing records, birth, death, marriages, minutes, annual reports. There's a lot. And I look forward to preserving it and keeping it for future generations. All right, so then there's the two of you. Oh, I never saw you put your hand up. All right, ma'am, you can come. Don't worry, Brian, I'm gonna let you ask your question. No.
Well, hold on, you gotta give Tom and Jim a minute there. They're no private meeting.
David McPherson again, and this is for the library board. I want to thank you for serving on the board. My wife served on the board. She was the chair for 1 year, and I know that it can be a challenging position at times. My question is regarding the other library up the hill and cooperation between the two, which is near and dear to my heart. I know the legal separations between the two libraries, but what can you do to advance the cooperation between the two libraries and to make it more seamless for those of us in the community as a whole?
It's a really good question. Yes, we were just saying that. So the library on the hill, I actually live in East Derry, so we go there sometimes. And it's a very nice, very small library. And as far as the cooperation, Eric and Jen do meet on a regular basis, so there already is cooperation there. I know there were a couple months where there was a gap, but.
Let's get the two boards together.
So that's an interesting idea. It's never been, to my knowledge. Oh. 12 years ago was before I lived here, so I'm sorry I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, we can talk to Eric about it certainly and see. Again, I mean, as we've said, like we're kind of there for the approval. So, but we can definitely talk to Eric and say, hey, you know, what about this idea? I'm not certainly not opposed to it. There is hope. Yeah, so I'd totally be open to that because, yeah, they're both Derry libraries, right? So, and the Friends of the Derry Libraries work for both. Right. Not work, but they you know, they assist both libraries. So, you know, why not?
So I concur with what Rachel said. The Friends of the Libraries, it does work with both. Our two directors work together. They have, I don't know if it's weekly or monthly meetings anyway. I would have no problem if we met as boards, you know, and collaborated on things. Our interests are a little bit different as far as focused on the particular library that we're working with, but we could share ideas. Yeah. So.
Wait, we already share
I think, yeah, we do share some story hours in the summertime. Our children's librarian was a trustee. He's back on. So our children's librarian is a trustee at the Taylor Library as well. So there's a lot of co-oping there. I think the libraries have always historically been thought of as different. The Derry Library is the downtown working man's library near the shoe factories way back when. And the East Derry Library was, as our former director used to say, the rarefied air of East Derry. So it was just different. And I know it was funded differently. The Taylor Library had more donations and bequests and things. But that was a long time ago, and I'm sure we can do some things together and come together in the future.
All right, ma'am?
This is just another question for the library folks. I just wanted to tell you my concern and then ask the question, but where can we find the national policy? I think that you referenced that what kind of books are offered, it has something to do with a national policy and guidelines. So I would want to know like either what they are or where I can find them. Because my concern, it's not like, you know, gay versus heterosexual, it's what's sexually appropriate for all ages. We do want to meet the needs of all children, true, but we also want it to be appropriate where children are not ready and not traumatizing or abusive. So if you could just tell us where we can find these guidelines.
So if you go to the American Library Association website, ALA, probably .org, I imagine, then all their policies are there. But the Library Bill of Rights was what I quoted from.
It's on our website. Yeah, it's linked to on the website.
Yes. Yes.
Say that. Also, that policy is on our website as well. So you can go to DerryPL.org, and there's a list of all our policies, including the Library Bill of Rights.
And I don't have a whole lot more to add because that's pretty much the information. So.
All right, Brian, that leaves you with the last question. What?
I'm just going to make it. I'm just going to, I mean, it could apply for everybody, but I'm going to address it to the town council because of the time. So I want to give you a hypothetical question if you're elected as a town councilor. A big important issue comes up and you feel very strongly about the issue and you vote a certain way. And then somebody, a member from the public, feels differently and basically sues the town. Now you're in non-public session and you ask your attorney, what's the chances we win this case? And the attorney says 50-50. Now again, you feel strongly about this. So my question is, do you roll the dice and try to settle, or do you fight and spend taxpayer money?
Thanks, Mr. Chiricello. Great question. So a lot of scenarios would have to be involved with that, 50-50. If there was a lot of public output, public input regarding that what we decided on, I would probably err on the side of caution to say, I'll reverse my vote. If it's the other way, it's a tough call because I've been in that situation. The planning board, I've been in that situation with my job where it's 50-50. I try to weigh out everything. I try to get all the most information I can. And that's how I would deal with it. I would definitely listen to everybody and try to weigh out everything. And if we had a packed house and everybody was against it, and I probably would not vote for that anyway, but if the council did pass it, I would absolutely say in non-public that we have no chance and let's not waste past taxpayers' money to do that. Thank you. Who's going next?
Me? Okay. Yeah, thanks, Brian. You know, obviously, you know, that situation has probably occurred several times in the past. And again, it's not really a personal decision. Whether I feel strongly about something or my fellow councilors feel strongly about something, you have to set your own personal opinions aside. You need to look at the data and the facts that are presented in front of you and make the decision based on all of the information you have at the time. I mean, that's why we're elected. We're not elected to to do what we personally want to do. We're elected to do what the citizens want to do, and we're elected to, and part of that is making sure you have all the data and facts, and from time to time, you may have to go out and convince the citizens that, you know, oh, we understand what you want, but here's all of the data, so before we get people's opinions, you gotta make sure everybody's got all the data. So once we have all the data, then, yeah, if something comes up and you have to change the course in non-public, then I don't have a problem doing that. But you need to have all the data in front of you, and my personal opinion on most of the decision-making process is somewhat irrelevant. I mean, it has an influence, and I hope to use my influence to convince people, but it's gonna be based on data and facts and everything that's presented in front of me. And things change when new data comes up. I mean, we just heard a question previously here about a project that's going on in town. You know, it's relative to the data that's there. You know, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the question that came up. As data comes out, more data gets given, and you get answers from legal attorneys. You put that all together, and you got to make the right decision for the town.
Thank you for the question, Brian. Yes, it is hypothetical, and I think in order to answer that question, I'd have to see what the issue is, see what the legal side of it is, and just take it from there. I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and answer a hypothetical question. Thank you.
Brian, thank you for the question. You know, where you said the lawyer is saying 50-50, I would ask for a second opinion from another lawyer first off and bring that in there and take the time to do that. But the one thing in your hypothetical, you don't give the magnitude of the dollars we're talking about. So if you're talking about $20,000 and it's 50-50 and we can settle for, I don't know, 10 or, you know, I think the magnitude of the situation needs to be discussed and understood. And, you know, to Jim's point, I mean, we're not here to make decisions on our personal thoughts on the issue. It's really the facts of the case, which way, you know, things are going. But I think it's a good question, but I think without the magnitude of the decision, I think it's hard to kind of say which way you'd go, in my opinion. That's nice. Good luck, my friend.
Well, one thing I do agree with is this is a hypothetical situation, and we really don't know what our options are. We do know that the vote was a council vote, so we can't reverse our vote. Well, we can, but it may not affect, you know, the outcome. Fact is, we don't know if reversing our vote will affect the outcome. But what I would say is if the options are settle or litigate, and you only have a 50-50 chance, I would probably settle, because that's a sure situation as opposed to an unknown.
All right, so those are our questions. We're going to go to wrap up so that we try to get out of here on time. We'll give you guys a minute. We're going to start with Mr. Nelson and then come down the table this way.
Pass it down. Pass it down.
Alrighty, thank you. The speed round. I'm Dave Nelson. I'm running for town moderator. I am a people person. I am a detail-oriented person. I like to follow the laws. And so while I can't promise any sweeping reforms and economic development and all the wonderful things, because that's not the job of the moderator. The job of the moderator is to make sure things run squeaky clean, smooth, and happy for everyone, and keep all the stakeholders happy. The town council, the town clerk, the voters, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General. And so I promise that if you vote for me, you will be delighted with that choice, and I will exceed your expectations. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody again for their time in helping facilitate and participating in this event. It's a great event. It's much needed, and I appreciate everyone that showed up tonight. So one thing I forgot to mention in my opening, I'll go real quick here. You know, I am the my professional life, I'm the vice president of finance of a $180 million company. I do budgeting for a living, financial analysis, financial operations, cash flow management, and P&L management. So I forgot to mention that earlier. But my commitment to Derry taxpayers is as follows. I will always be transparent and available to all residents, as the question was asked. I believe as an elected official we should be available to our constituents. I will not have all the answers, but I commit to working hard and becoming educated in the issues and will always follow up where I stand on an issue. And in conclusion, I commit to working with all members of the council and other elected officials in Derry. I believe if we eliminate the silos that exist, we become more productive and efficient, which will only make our community stronger and allow us to keep moving forward.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming out and for all the good questions. A couple of things. I'll obviously support the tunnel project if I get elected. I'll also work to ensure that there's a commercial retail aspect of all the apartment buildings that come in, because that was kind of the vision that I had when I first saw these projects come along. You know, you can also trust what I say. I always follow through on what I'm going to do. I also, you know, being a teacher, I always do my homework. Yeah, I do. And I will always answer emails and texts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Tina and the staff here tonight for hosting the event, and all of you for coming out and asking your questions. As I stated in my introduction, I believe I have the background experience to hit the ground running if elected. With my experience in growth management, ordinance, budgeting, and planning, I have that experience to see the projects get done in a cost-effective way with a plan that will help to expand the tax base and business opportunities, as well as help lower your taxes. As I have in the past, I will work with all stakeholders to coordinate these efforts and move Derry forward, while seeing that the needs of all citizens are met in a cost-effective way. I'd like to thank you for your time and ask for your vote on March 14th for Jim McGeckran, Town Councilor, District 3. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for coming up tonight and asking the questions. It takes a lot to come up and be on TV and ask questions. People watching, I want to thank them and Tina and everybody setting this up. I just want to say that I will be here for the people of Derry. I'll be available. I'll give everybody my personal cell phone. I live at 1 Alder Court. If you see me around, if I'm elected or if I'm not elected, please stop me, ask questions. Like I said, I apologize for what I've done in 10, 15, 20 years ago in the town. I've grown up a lot. I want to be transparent. I want to bring more revenue to the town by economic development to lower the tax base. And I'm against more apartments, and we need some more workforce housing, like I said. I would like your voter support on March 14th, and I thank you again, and have a good evening, everybody.
Well, like everybody else said, I want to thank Tina and the DCTV people for hosting and videoing this. I know that there was probably some contention over me signing up at 4:59 on Friday for the council, and people have asked me that, well, why did you do that? And I said, well, I was interested in who was running, who had signed up, you know, because I kind of wanted to see if there was someone that I thought would be suitable for the at-large position. And it come down to me deciding that I thought I was the best person for the at-large position. So I want to hope that you all come out and vote, and that you consider voting for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for some great questions, which we didn't think we were going to get any, so we were really psyched. Thank you. My name again is Meryl Zussman. That's Meryl, like Meryl Streep without the Oscars. Just remember that, because no one ever gets my name right. I worked at the library for 25 years, so I know every inch in and out of that place, all the systems, all the staff, everything, and I would really love a chance to be on the Board of Trustees, and I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, she just reminded me. My name is always last because it's Zussman, so it's always at the end. So you'll have to drop down. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for coming out. Too often, people vote based on just name recognition rather than learning about, or alphabetically, or rather than learning something about the candidates. So thank you for coming and learning more about us, and for people at home as well. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Monica Cataldo, and I'm running for trustee, and I would like to be able to keep the library, keep working hard for the library to make it just as good as it has been for the past 3 years and even better in the future. So, and one you can all be proud of. So thank you.
Hi, thank you all for coming tonight and for everyone watching. Again, Rachel Armstrong, and I love the library, and my kids love it, and we go there all the time, and same as what Monica just said, I just would love the opportunity to continue to lead it and guide it and just serve the community by serving on the board. So, thank you.
All right, so I'll put my 1 minute along with my wrap up. We'll get on out of here. So, I want to thank my husband for being voluntold to run the lights. Because the town council has done a phenomenal job. I thank them for even allowing this to go in the budget and finding a way to get information out to voters. My time as moderator, that was the #1 concern I heard. I don't know who the candidates are. I don't know who to vote for. So here's your opportunity. Watch the forums, go home, share them, talk to your friends, let them watch them. DerryCAM has them up on the website. And I want to thank Owen and his staff for everything they've done. Thank you to the SAU for letting us use the building. I greatly appreciate it. And somehow I can't seem to get out of forums without a little controversy. So last year it was how to pay for them. This year I got 3 phone calls and some social media posts about wasting taxpayer dollars on one-time use signs. So these, the town has a ton of them, all right? And when you pull them out, this is just a piece of paper. There you go, it's just paper. So what I did is I used these because the town has lots of boards, and I grabbed them. They didn't pay for them. And I printed out some nameplates because I was trying to be professional. So hopefully everybody understands that this was not a big expense. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. I hope to see you all on March 14th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Calvary. Actually, I would love to eat my words from Tuesday night and have a traffic problem. Come on, get me over 3,000 voters, please. Thank you. You can take your paper home if you want. Take your paper home if you want.
last time I showed up, I expected you to bring me up and ask me, like, what are your qualifications, and what do you want, or why are you thinking this? The whole thing took 8 seconds. The chair said, Josh said, this guy wants to be on the zoning board, but he goes like, aye. Anticlimactic.
I am so glad Mr. Nelson got a question.
Oh, thank you.
I felt bad.
I do.